With a broad grin adorning her face, my daughter enthusiastically waved goodbye as the train departed. It had been nearly 2 months since her last encounter with my husband, so her eagerness to reunite with him was palpable. As my daughter boarded the train, I swiftly sent a message to my husband. Approximately 4 hours later, my phone rang, and it was my daughter on the other end. I have instructed her to call me upon her arrival, assuming it was in response to my message. "Hello, Aria, have you made it to San Francisco to see your father?" I inquired. To my surprise, her voice sounded despondent as she replied, "Mom, please come and pick me up." Alarm bells rang in my mind. Is something wrong? I asked urgently. "I didn't get to meet Dad," she confessed, leaving me bewildered. "What do you mean?" I questioned. "I don't know, but I haven't heard from him," she explained, her voice tinged with worry. "And when I went to his house, some strange woman turned me away." "What?" I exclaimed in shock. "My name is Savannah, and I am a 32-year-old mother of 3. My husband, Gavin, and I welcomed our first child, Aria, when I was still in college, leading to an unexpected early marriage. With the unwavering support of my parents, I managed to complete my education. Subsequently, I became a homemaker, navigating the challenges that came with our unconventional journey. People around us were initially puzzled and concerned, but my husband assured me that our union had always been in the cards. Following my graduation, my husband secured a job at a reputable company, offering us financial stability and even company housing. While our marriage didn't have the conventional honeymoon phase, our beautiful daughter, Aria, made our lives incredibly fulfilling. My husband had a deep affection for our daughter and always devoted his weekends to taking care of her. Thanks to him, I could enjoy moments of relaxation and outings with friends without the need to dress up or worry about a thing. I had no complaints about this life, and the days seemed to fly by as my daughter embarked on her journey into elementary school. During this time, my husband had been with the same company for nearly 7 years and had steadily climbed the corporate ladder. His responsibilities grew, causing him to return home later and later from work. However, our weekends remained sacred, filled with family adventures and cherished memories. We enjoyed countless joyous days together, and I believed these moments of happiness would endure indefinitely. But then, on an ordinary day while I was relishing our idyllic life, the company decided to transfer my husband. It was a decision that seemed to disregard the fact that he had a family, even though our daughter was now 11 years old. In the past, he had resisted transfers for our daughter's sake when she was younger, but this time, such a reason was no longer acceptable. Moreover, it appeared to be a pivotal career move for him. The company he worked for was substantial, boasting an abundance of potential replacements for his role. To secure his future promotions, this transfer was deemed inevitable. Our daughter was on the cusp of entering junior high and high school. Naturally, I desired her to attend college, which would entail tuition and other expenses. Thus, I reluctantly consented to the transfer, hoping it would propel his career forward. I was informed that the assignment would last approximately 6 months. Well, 6 months should be manageable, I reasoned. Nonetheless, our daughter had a profound attachment to her father, and the thought of being apart from him worried her. In response, my husband reassured her. He promised to call her every day, do his best to alleviate her loneliness, and affirmed that they would spend weekends together. It was a testament to his unwavering commitment to our family, even in the face of this temporary separation. She responded, "Okay, I'll miss Daddy more than I'd like, but I'll manage." With smiles on our faces, my daughter and I bid him farewell. Approximately 3 days later, my husband appeared on the video phone, eager to spend time talking with our daughter. He reached out even before she had a chance to truly miss him. I couldn't help but chuckle, wondering which of the two was the child in their interactions. Witnessing my husband and daughter converse over the phone warmed my heart. It was evident that their bond was strong, and I was filled with gratitude for their connection. During the first weekend, his work commitments kept him too occupied to visit, but the following week, my husband made a deliberate effort to come home on a Friday. I deeply appreciated his dedication to our family amidst his demanding work schedule. Our daughter was overjoyed to share a meal with her father after such a prolonged absence. However, about 2 months into his new life, my husband's behavior began to change. While he used to video call our daughter every 3 days, the frequency dwindled until it ceased entirely. I understood that his work was demanding, he was living alone, and managing household chores. Undoubtedly, he would gradually find more opportunities to socialize with his colleagues. I refrained from pressuring him to reach out to us, knowing the burden he already carried. Although I didn't insist on contacting me, my husband's communication with me grew sporadic. Over time, his visits back home became infrequent. I explained to our daughter that her father was engrossed in his work, but I could sense her silent sorrow. It was far from an ideal situation, and despite understanding his work commitments, I gently requested that he call her, even if only for a brief 5 minutes. Our daughter consistently seemed a bit lonely at home. My husband expressed his apologies, promising to reach out to Aria soon. It'll be her birthday, this coming Saturday. Maybe he'll come home and surprise us, I mused hopefully. Our daughter echoed the sentiment, believing that her daddy might come home. However, on her special day, my husband failed to return home or even extend a birthday greeting via phone call. This time, my daughter was profoundly disappointed, and my frustration reached a boiling point. I dialed my husband repeatedly and left multiple messages. Lately, he had become increasingly elusive when I called, often not answering or bothering to return my calls. In desperation, I persisted, making multiple attempts to reach him. It wasn't until my 5th call that he finally answered. "What's going on? You've been calling me incessantly, haven't you?" he inquired, sounding somewhat irritated. My frustration welled up as I retorted, "What am I doing? Today is Aria's birthday. It's Saturday and you're not here. You didn't even bother to call and wish her a happy birthday." His response was as simple, "I'm sorry. I truly apologize." Aria hadn't seen her father in a considerable amount of time, and she had eagerly anticipated reuniting with him on her special day. I urged him to convey this to her, but all I received was another apology. Defeated, I hung up the phone, but my anger still smoldered. I couldn't contain my emotions and sent him a message imploring him to think of his daughter and be more attentive. Despite my plea, his replies remained unchanged. "I understand. I'm sorry." There was no sign of improvement. Another month slipped by, and recently, with my daughter on summer vacation, she began expressing her desire to visit her father if he couldn't come to her. This had become her daily refrain since the start of summer vacation. I decided to seize this opportunity and allow her to travel to her father's house alone. She was eager for a new experience and brimming with excitement. We resided in Los Angeles, while my husband was in San Francisco. Fortunately, she could easily reach his location by taking the train. I drove her to the train station and coordinated with my husband to pick her up at the other end. He agreed to the plan, finally offering our daughter the chance to reunite with her father after a long absence. On that Saturday, I bid her farewell with a heartwarming smile as the train departed. It had been 2 months since she last saw her father, so her anticipation was palpable. I sent a message to my husband as my daughter boarded the train. Approximately 4 hours after returning home, my phone rang, and it was my daughter calling. It was around noon, and she had embarked on her journey early in the morning, likely meeting up with my husband and having lunch before contacting me. I had instructed her to call me upon her arrival, assuming she would be reporting, "Hello, Aria, did you make it to San Francisco and meet up with your dad?" However, her voice held an unexpected note of unhappiness when I posed the question. "Mom, please pick me up right now," she implored urgently. My heart raced as I inquired, "What's wrong? What happened?" She replied, "I haven't seen Daddy." My confusion deepened. "What do you mean?" I asked. She replied, "I don't know, but I haven't heard from him. And when I went to his house, a strange woman turned me away." My heart sank at her words. "What? What did she say?" I demanded to know. "No, Mom, please just come pick me up," she pleaded. "Where are you now?" I asked, my concern mounting. She replied, "I'm back at the San Francisco train station, and I'm going to a nearby fast food restaurant to wait for you." Without hesitation, I rushed to my car and drove to the station. After purchasing a ticket, I boarded the train bound for San Francisco. When I finally arrived, I saw my daughter's tearful eyes as she looked at me. We found refuge in a nearby coffee shop, and I decided to order the famous pancakes from the area in an effort to lift her spirits. As the pancakes arrived, I noticed a glimmer of hope in her eyes. With her mood slightly improved, I gently probed for details about what had transpired. She recounted her ordeal, explaining that she had been unable to reach my husband when she arrived at the San Francisco station. After waiting for about 30 minutes with no sign of him, she made the bold decision to go to his house on her own. I had previously provided her with my husband's home address as a precaution. Armed with her smartphone and navigation skills, she quickly found her way to his residence. When she rang the doorbell, she was met with a woman's voice, inquiring, "Who are you?" My daughter was taken aback but managed to muster the words, "I'm here to see my daddy." However, the woman at the door insisted that my daughter should leave and not bother her husband. Eventually, she abruptly hung up without even opening the apartment door. This incensed me, and I couldn't contain my anger. If she told you not to see your daddy, then let's do just that, I declared, ushering my daughter home and swiftly initiating preparations to move out. When I explained the distressing situation to my parents, their fury matched my own. They pledged their support and allowed us to stay with them temporarily while I sought employment. Meanwhile, my husband contacted me and inquired about not finding Arya at the train station. I suspected that his unfaithful wife hadn't informed him of her actions. I responded, "No, there was no message from you on our daughter's phone. When I went to pick her up, I doubt you even made it to the train station." I was left dumbfounded, but I chose to let it slide. Arya fell ill during the journey back, and I was preoccupied with her care. I texted my husband, explaining that I had just left the hospital and apologizing for not calling earlier. His response was casual. "Oh, I see. I understand." Frustrated by his apparent indifference, I concluded the conversation by saying I'd call again if necessary. I seethed with anger, as it was evident he was merely pretending to care. At that point, I decided to distance myself from him. Initially, I returned his belongings to his address and awaited the results of the investigation I had commissioned through a detective agency. Once I received evidence of his affair, I sent it to his workplace, along with a certified letter. A few days later, my husband contacted me, agitated. He demanded to know what I was up to. I retorted, "What am I doing? I thought I'd enlighten everyone about your actions." He was incredulous and protested. "You've got to be kidding me. We're in the middle of a major issue." I responded calmly, "Indeed we are. That's exactly what I'm addressing, and I can't believe you're concerned about your belongings. We've moved out of the apartment." He seemed taken aback and asked, "When did you leave?" "About a month ago," I replied. "And then what happened?" He inquired further. I continued, "No one lived there for a month, yet we still had to keep paying the rent." He shrugged it off, saying, "Well, it's in your name, so it's not my concern." I insisted, "No, it's not just that. You're 2 months behind on the rent, and we're on the verge of eviction." He seemed surprised and asked, "Is that why I've been getting calls from an unknown number lately?" "Yes," I confirmed, "we're in serious trouble if we lose the apartment." I suggested, "Why didn't you just stay in San Francisco? After all, you sent a certified letter to your company, and they found out about your affair. They're planning to bring in someone from headquarters to replace you and transfer you back to Los Angeles." He realized the gravity of the situation and lamented, "So if you send me all my belongings, it's going to be really difficult for me to go back to Los Angeles. And to make matters worse, I won't have a place to stay there." I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction that my plan was working even better than expected. However, I quickly composed myself and said, "You've brought all this upon yourself with your actions, and it's not over yet. You'll have to face the consequences." I decided to seek a divorce and will request alimony and child support, I firmly stated during our conversation. He responded with resignation. "Oh, okay. Let's go through the lawyers and get it done." I ended the call and proceeded to engage a lawyer, just as I had planned. The divorce proceedings unfolded smoothly, with alimony claims filed against both my ex-husband and the person with whom he had the affair. Additionally, I requested child support from my ex-husband. The consequences of his affair were unprecedented. It led to his return from a transfer, and the affair became a source of ridicule within his company. Female colleagues gave him disapproving glances, and any hopes of career advancement were dashed. He couldn't simply quit his job either, as he was obligated to pay both alimony and child support. Undoubtedly, he carried the weight of shame for his actions. My daughter, disillusioned by her father's behavior, refused to see him even when he expressed a desire to make amends. It was a fitting consequence for his actions. On a brighter note, I managed to secure a job, and my daughter and I now share a contented life in our apartment. I'm dedicated to working hard to support her and witness her growth and happiness.